Today we've got an imp origin created by the user known as Zin from the Origin's Discord server. That's where you can download. I will be making a video sometime soon fully explaining the process of downloading and installing custom origins, don't worry. The Impling origin is a 3-impact origin, a small winged demon fortified by heart and weakened by the cold. Their essence is tied to the Never. And hey, if you want to do me a solid and drop me a sub down below, we're so close to 50,000 subscribers, we're trying to get to it by the end of the month, which is pretty cool. Either ways, let's get into it. Now first off, we've got the obvious. You're a Never inhabitant. Your natural spawn will be in the Never. Of course you can curb this by sleeping in a bed in the overworld, then you'll spawn in the overworld again, but without sleeping in a bed in the overworld, you'll always spawn in the Never whenever you die. Usually the spawn is pretty close to the spawn point in the overworld in Never coordinates, but you'll have probably a few problems with potentially spawning in like a very small pocket of air that is surrounded by blocks, or various other problems that you may occur, but you can get out even in single player by the use of just resource gathering, really. Furthermore to that, you're also small size, aka half the size of the average human, meaning you're just about a block tall. You'll be smaller than most blocks, and your, well, scratching will make you 3/4 of a block tall instead. Furthermore along that, due to your small size, you're also lightweight. You can take half velocity damage in total, but your hit point maximum is reduced by 4 hearts. So velocity damage such as flying into walls or mountains and stuff like that, or fall damage will be half as painful as before, but you have 4 less hearts, so kind of equals itself out, kind of. Next we have weak arms. Weapons you wield deal 1/4 of their base damage. I mean, you can see it in this clip here how long it takes to defeat a piglin with your fist. Usually it takes like 5, 6, 7 hits. This one probably took over 10. It took several different hits to the point where I almost got killed by the piglins. So yeah, your damage is weakened by a lot. And then next you have Fortified Essence. You exhaust far slower within the Never. Not too much of a major thing there. It means your hunger is going to be a lot better in the Never rather than what it would be in the overworld. Anyway, now that we sped run a huge collection of small ones, let's go into the first big ability of this origin, Never Essence. You cannot reset your spawn point in any other dimension other than the Never. If you would die outside the Never, you are instead teleported to a random location in the Never. When returning to the Never in this fashion, you will be at half a heart and any damaging status effects will be cured. When you die within the Never, you will die normally. Now this is a pretty cool and interesting ability, but it just sounds a little bit complicated. So here's the gist of it. Effectively, if you take any damage that will kill you whilst you're in the overworld, rather than taking that damage, you'll be teleported to a random position in the Never. It will not line up with your current cohorts in the overworld at all. It will just be a random position in the Never. It could be thousands of blocks away from spawn, it could be right on top of spawn. But basically, rather than dying in the overworld, you'll TP to the Never. At the same time, it will clear you from any form of debuff and any form of status effects that don't come from the origin itself. So let's say you get a hunger debuff from a husk as it's trying to kill you, that will be immediately removed when you TP to the Never. And whilst it does say you'll be at half a heart, that's not going to be true in a lot of occasions. It will just be more whatever health you're on before the killing blow was launched at you in the other dimensions. This will also save you in instances when you're fighting the Ender Dragon and you're supposed to die. Instead of dying in the end and losing potentially all of your stuff, or falling into the void and dying in the void losing all your stuff, you'll be simply teleported to the Never. So whilst this will suck so much when it comes to trying to stay in the overworld, it will ultimately be a blessing at the same time. Except I lied, it turns out the void is the one thing that this ability will not save you from. Next ability we have is Wings. You have Elytra Wings without ever needing to equip them. Again, this is pretty self-explanatory. You have Elytra Wings on permanently, and you can also equip chest plates at the same time. But there's a bit of a catch to the armor part. Whilst you can wear a chest plate, whenever you're wearing any form of armor, your Elytra will not function. The same will occur whenever you're in the rain or in water. Furthermore on that, you may have noticed in the water clip that the moment you go into water, you are non-bionic. You are unable to swim in water and will sink to the bottom instead. Granted, you're still able to jump in water, so if you have 1 block jumps that you can take in the underwater area, you will be able to climb your way back out of water, but be very wary that you will just drop straight to the bottom very, very quickly. Like, it's not just a slow drop, no, it's an immediate go straight down to the bottom, no other options. Moving into our primary abilities, we got the Fireball ability, your primary power. You will hurl a fireball in the direction you're facing. This has a 2.5 second cooldown. This is going to be your main damaging ability. Considering your melee attacks are heavily nerfed in comparison to normal, you will want to use this ability very often. It does a fairly hefty amount of damage, being able to kill things like piglins in 2 single shots. And with a really short cooldown, you're able to rapid fire this ability pretty easily, allowing you to deal a lot of damage pretty quickly. For the next ability, you've got Updraft. This is your secondary power. In scorching hot biomes, you can catch an updraft, boosting yourself 8 blocks into the air. Otherwise, including when your wings wouldn't work, this boost is only 1.5 blocks, a 30-second cooldown. So this ability is kind of like the Elytron's boost ability, except for it's so much worse in comparison. And then furthermore to that, if you're not in a hot biome or you can't use your Elytra, let's say you're wearing armor, this will be effectively just a jump. Like, you will effectively be able to boost yourself up in the equivalent distance to what a jump would usually award you, maybe a little bit more. Overall, this ability is significantly worse in comparison to what you would see with the Elytra. And the Elytra one can be useful, but also very annoying with its very long cooldown. This has a shorter cooldown, but it's still a pretty long enough cooldown that it's pretty much an ability that may be useful in some situations, but it might not get any use by you. But don't worry, you get given a second ability that is by far so much more useful when it comes to flying around with your Elytra. It's called Flap Wings. Whilst in Elytra flight, you can propel yourself forward by holding your sprint key. This is a key that you can combine to any button you want, put it to one that you can easily hit, by the way. This will deplete the stamina bar, the bar with a little feather icon, that recharges over time. The boost gets progressively worse the colder you get. We'll get to that last part in a moment. But this is a beautiful ability. It allows you, it's basically like a firework, except for it recharges very quickly and you can use it pretty effectively very often. It's a great way to keep very consistent flight, especially while you're in your hotter biomes. But as you get colder, the ability gets overall weaker. And as you get colder, well, effectively, each time you get a new cold selection, the ability is way worse than what it was before. By the way, what is that cold selection? Well, it is that blue bar. You hate cold. You progressively get colder in any biome that isn't scorching hot. The colder the biome, the colder you can become. You get stacks of weakness, slowness, and mining fatigue while the colder you get. While at your coldest, you'll begin freezing. Being in a warmer biome or standing on fire, lava, or magma gradually warms you. Standing on ice or snow will gradually cool you. So this is a different system that will always be taking effect whenever you're in the overworld, unless you're in stuff like the deserts where it won't go up anywhere near as fast. Pretty much the only way to effectively keep yourself warm in the overworld is by using magma blocks, fire, or lava, which also means you're invulnerable to those things so they won't damage you, and at the same time you've also got to keep in mind that the Nether, the piping hot biome, will immediately deplete this away. Now you can see it in here, the blue bar will go up at a certain pace and you'll gain these little stacks that will appear as little snowflake icons on the top of all of your ability bars. As this goes up, you will gain more stacks of mining fatigue, slowness, and weakness. These will be continuously really annoying, especially once you get your second one. You have mining fatigue too. We all know we get that from ocean monuments. It makes mining pretty much hell. It's one of those things where the longer you're in a cold biome and not warm, the worse your experience is going to get. And then just a side ability, I did say that we have fire immunity in amongst that big thing there, but you've also got Carnivore. Your diet is restricted to meat and you cannot eat vegetables whatsoever. So the basic way to start with this Origin, the Nether is going to be your best place to be in. In fact, you can't really escape the Nether because whenever you die in the overworld, regardless if you sleep in a bed or not, you will just teleport right back to the Nether. Granted though, if you do die in the Nether, you will go to whatever spawn that you've set in the overworld, so there is a way around that. It's just a little more annoying than what usual dying would entail. Basically, you want to live in the Nether though, because your abilities are far more powerful in the Nether, because it's hot biomes, as well as, well, you don't progressively get colder. You've also got an Elytra that allows you to easily get around the Nether, and even though the Nether's pretty annoying to get around with Elytras, you're not going to take too much kinetic damage, meaning you can take those hits against the wall pretty easily, because, you know, you can take that type of thing. Anyway, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit the like button down below, and until next time guys, I'll see you in the next one. Click this video on screen now. Bye bye!